Hey Sebastian, how you doing today? How's everything going?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Awesome. Doing well, man. It's been a while since you've been back on the channel, so I'm happy to have you here. Today, I have a question, a topic that you've been bringing up lately that has been concerning quite a few business owners and a lot of folks that are getting into this, which is MCA. What is MCA? If you can break that down for us, and
Sure.
what's been going on with business owners, folks getting into this.
Certainly, certainly. So in the business lending environment, um, due to the risk involved with lending, I would say about maybe 15 or 20 years ago, a funding solution uh, just came out of nowhere called the Merchant Cash Advance, which is the acronym is MCA. It started off with just merchant processors, the companies that handle your processing of your credit card statements for your or transactions when you charge a client by credit card. Because they have those statements, they could look and see, what your processing is, and so they would just reach out to you, and they are the ones who started offering an advance on future transactions, on future swipes or credit card processing.
So
And so
like
because they could
Amex
see that, um,
or like one of the
Amex, yes, they did it. They actually created a company called Cabbage at one point, and then it became a whole thing, and they started doing it through Cabbage. But even prior to that, smaller merchant shops, processing camps
okay.
were offering it, and it really they start off with as private lenders, but to be able to offer their funding solution, it's technically legally not a loan, because as soon as you use the word loan, it falls under the jurisdiction, and there's consumer protections for for the consumer, for the business owner. But by using the words advance, not a loan, it's not a loan, it's an advance. And then they don't charge an interest rate, they charge a factor rate, which is a risk assessment based on your future receivables. So they typically want to see 3 to 6 months of your last 3 to 6 months bank statements or merchant statements. At first, it was just merchant statements. It since then has evolved to a combination of merchant and or bank statements, because that's more all consuming. And they look at your deposits, and if as long as there's no NSFs, there's no negative days, they basically are lending between 80 to 90% of your average monthly deposits. um, and the factor rate is how they sell it. There's no interest rate. It's a factor rate of anywhere between 1.25 to 1.5. So as a consumer, as a business owner, you need a loan, you need funding, you're trying to grow your business, you get a phone call and some guys on the line telling you, hey, you qualify for an advance on your future receivables. Based on your transactions, you can get access to 250,000, and we can have that money deposited in your bank account before the end of the business day. And there's no interest rate. It's a factor rate of 1.45. The payment's going to be coming automatically through your merchant transactions or from your bank payment. You're not going to feel it. You'll be able to leverage this money to grow your business. We just need to send you the agreement, and we can have you funded before the end of the day. Sounds pretty
Okay.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
1.45 factor rate, is that equal to 1.45%, or are we talking two different things?
completely two different. And that's where people get misled. So
Okay,
they
because they're thinking
assume,
1.45%. Yeah.
correct, that 1.45 translates to 45% interest.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Explain that.
So basically, they're charging you 40. It's 1.45 on the future receivable. So as you continue to process your payment, they're charging you that on the future, and it's typically 3 to 6 months of payment. So when you calculate the math on it, it literally you're paying back 45% interest over 3 to 6 months when you do the math on the payment, repayment terms. They in some cases will offer a early payoff advantage. A lot of them don't. Um, so whether you borrowed it for a week and paid it back, or you went for the full term, 3 6 months, you're paying back the full amount, right? Um, and so unfortunately, merchants, business owners, they take these loans, I shouldn't call it that. They take these advances, right?
Advances.
Yeah, they take these advances, not realizing what they're getting into. Um, and the only recourse that they have, these merchant cash advance companies, these lenders, is two things. One is to put a UCC filing against your business, which is a universal commercial code filing with the Secretary of State against all of your business assets, right? And they won't, if you don't say anything, they'll just put a blanket lien on all assets, right? First position to sue you if you don't pay,
Oh
right?
wow.
So now,
This is
um,
part of the initial
it's
agreement.
in their contract. Yeah, it's
Oh
in their
man.
contract, and and as a matter of fact, it's in most business lending contracts. If you get an SBA loan, a
Okay.
business term loan, or a business line of credit,
Gotcha.
most lenders are going to want to put a UCC filing on you. It's a
Okay. So it's
standard.
standard. Okay, it's a standard.
Yeah,
Got it.
but the problem is that once you get it with one of these companies, right? No good lender will be subordinate and take a second position on behind a merchant cash advance company. So
Okay.
now your only alternative, which almost gets stuffed down your throat, because as soon as you close that advance, it gets filed publicly. So all of these companies, there's hundreds of thousands of them now, are just checking the databases, the Secretary of State and the UCC filings. And so boom, all of a sudden you start getting 10, 15 calls a day. Oh, we can offer you a second position. We'll even do a third position, fourth position, fifth position. So now you need more money because you're getting bled dry because the money's coming out daily, weekly, and you're not even having a choice to pay it or not. It's just automatic. And you need to make payroll. You need to pay for inventory. You need to keep the lights on. There's not enough money there. So what do? Take another one. Before you know it, I've talked to people who have been stacked with 5 to 7 cash advances,
Mm.
5 to 7 of them.
So the first cash advance that someone take, in your example, 1.45 rate, let's say it's a $50,000 advance. The repayment term is short, 3 months, 6 months, or you get to determine that, or
The shortest term is 3, the longest term is 12. The
okay,
average would be about 6 months. So maybe 6 to 8 months. Maybe
got
if you get a good one, 12 months if you have relationships with them, and
got it.
if you're doing bigger numbers.
So 6 months, I get an advance of 50K, and according to my past transactions, I could easily, pay that back. But on 50 grand, 1.45 factor rate, what would that look like? Is there a way to do the math on
Yep,
that,
I'm
or
paying back 22. I'm paying the 50,000 plus 22,500 back in that example.
how on a monthly? Like
Oh,
does it
yeah.
look like a monthly
Daily.
payment, or
The
is it
payment
literally?
comes out either daily, automatically,
Oh,
or
okay.
weekly.
So it sounds like that 1.45 factor rate is like a compounding effect on
Correct.
the balance, and because the money's coming out on every transaction, so it's like
Correct.
1.45, 1.45, 1.45 of every transaction.
Yeah, so they basically take that 1.45. Again, if you take that 45%, right? So 50,000 times 45%
Yeah,
is 22.5. So plus 50,000. So that's going to be a repayment of 72,500. Divide that by um 90 days. Let's say it's a 90-day repayment term. So that'll be $805 a day coming out of your business checking account.
that you quote unquote don't recognize or see because you were already, again, according to past transactions, if you're getting a $50,000 advance, that means you're making more than that over the next 90 days because they lent you 80 to 90% of
Correct.
past transactions. So you got the 50K to handle some things, and over the next 90 days, you're going to make more money. Simply, it's almost like paying yourself back, basically.
Right.
And these business owners think that they're paying themselves back at a 1.45 interest rate, not realizing you actually just paid back a massive amount. And now you're not able to cover payroll because you're like, where the hell did all my money go? You're not even realizing it, or you're not able to cover a bill. You wait a second, like 22 grand is a huge chunk of cash flow in your business. I mean, I would argue that's more than the gap of the lending.
Yep.
of the 80 to 90%, or it's basically fills that in a way.
Way more. The only reason they can get away with it is because it's not a loan, it's an advance,
In
and it's not an
advance
interest rate, it's a factor rate.
factor rate.
So they have no recourse on your personal credit. It's not personally guaranteed.
Hmm.
They can't, you know, file a negative remark on your personal credit report, nor can they impact your business credit. The only thing they can do is file that UCC filing, try to sue you, right? Um, oh, and what they will do is because they have access to your bank statements, um, they're going to look and see all your vendors and creditors and clients, friends and family, anyone who's on there that they can reverse research and find. They're going to call them and they're going to say, hey, you know, our client, your best friend, your buddy, your B2B partner is defaulting on this loan. Watch out.
Oh, that's
He's not
embarrassing.
someone you can trust. Yeah.
That's
So they
embarrassing.
basically
Okay.
act as bullies
Yeah.
to get their money back. And so first of all, in my opinion, you know, just because it's legal doesn't mean it's ethical,
Yeah. True.
right? It's illegal, yes, but I don't think it's ethical. Unfortunately, it's gotten so big that huge players are playing in this field. Um, it's the biggest number one lending that's going on in the market right now. Unfortunately, what's crazy, and this is something I just don't understand. Up until June 1st this year, you could use an SBA 7A loan to restructure a merchant cash advance.
Mm.
The SBA's mission is to help small business owners, right? But I don't know why. There's new laws that just came out, and the SBA has said that nope, you can no longer use an SBA loan to restructure a merchant cash advance,
Oh,
which makes absolutely no sense to me. I've actually helped people in the past
do that.
do that, and that was my preferred method of helping them
Hmm.
because this way they don't actually default on the debt or anything. They just get approved for a better loan with, you know,
Better.
legitimate terms and rates,
Hmm.
pay that off, and then move on.
Move on.
But now they have no choice except to either default on their own, which everything goes to hell if they do that, um, get an attorney to back them up on the default, basically negotiate a settlement,
Hmm.
right? Which is like a debt restructure or debt consolidation, you could say, right? But in the business realm, or file bankruptcy. And
So,
I mean, I'm talking to people who are on the phone crying with me, Denzel,
wow.
telling me that they because they're good people and they want to make payroll, they want to pay their employees, they want to,
Hmm.
and they're like, I can't believe I did this. I can't believe I'm in this situation. I was on the phone with a lady the other day, that she has two facilities in New York that care for children. Like, you know, it's like facilities where she works with the government to care for at-risk youth. She houses them, feeds them, clothes them. It's not a foster home, but it's like a facility for to 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 treat or help these kids become independent and, you know, to launch them into life. Um, and she made the mistake and did that, and she's probably going to have to end up closing her facilities down, which means that all these people are going to be homeless.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, my heart's breaking when I'm talking to these people,
Yeah.
and you know, so I found a solution through attorney firms that negotiate these settlements, but unfortunately, the only way to do that is you default. As soon as you default, they start attacking you,
Yeah.
and it's overwhelming, right?
And it's embarrassing. Your reputation
And
goes
it's
down as a business
embarrassing.
owner.
That's right. That's
Mm.
right.
Your
Yeah, it's
credibility
really
goes
bad.
down from one mistake.
It's really bad.
And here's the thing, to your earlier point about the factor rate, with a traditional loan, if you pay it off sooner, you pay less interest. But
Correct.
with some of these agreements, it doesn't matter how early or how on time you pay it, you're still going to pay that same amount for the most part.
In most cases, you there if you have, because even though it's not personally guaranteed, they still do consider your credit. So that's where you might get a better rate offer.
Right.
And maybe instead of 1.45, get 1.25 or 1.3, but we're still talking 25%, 30%
25%.
interest.
Yeah.
You know, so
It's like a very, very high interest rate credit card that's charging you the full 30% rate in the first month.
yep.
Because
And then
when
just
for those, yeah, so like when you those who are listening who have credit cards, if you have a 29.99 interest rate, sure, it's a high rate, but it's divided by 12. If you
Correct.
pay 29% over a year versus 45%, 35% in 90 days, right? Or let me ask you this, if it's 1.45 factor rate over 12 months, does the number grow or is it still 45%?
Yeah, it's still 45%.
It's still
Yeah, that's why
45%.
they
Okay.
typically don't go that long,
They
but
don't
what they'll
typically,
do
right?
is they'll go for 6 months or 8 months, and then they'll renew you on a new one,
On a new advance.
or they'll
Yeah.
offer you more halfway through, and then, you just get stuck in that trap. And listen, there's a time and a place for this, okay? A couple years back,
Talk about that.
I had a client who, he had already invested about $13 million in a hotel in Miami. He was down to the last month of construction. He needed $1 million to finish construction. The hotel was already generating revenue, so he was able to get approved for $1 million cash advance. They gave him a 3-month term with an early payoff incentive. He paid it off in about a month, 30 days. And in that example, he had bad credit. He had no other alternative. He was already that deep into the project. It was just a matter of, even though it was that expensive, his ROI and the timeline for him to recover from that within 2 to 3 months, he's gonna bounce back. But most business owners are not dealing with that
That
type
don't
of.
they don't need that. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no,
I
no.
we could look at lines of credits, credit cards, SBA loans, like different things before choosing the quickest option, so to speak.
If you don't have good credit, then it might be your only option. But then that's when the question becomes: is do I really need this or do I want this?
Okay.
And if it's a need, like no alternative, make or break, like you have to, like, let's say you're a mechanic and your lift, the thing that lifts up the cars to get under, it broke, and you have no financing options to get a new one, and that's going to either make or break your business. This is do or die. You have to make a tough decision. Fine, even though it's not going to feel good, hopefully you can recover from that, right? That's one scenario. The other scenario is you have such a huge, the ROI is so big, and it's a short span of time that even if it costs you 100% interest, it's fine. You're going to recover. But in both incidences, you have bad credit and you have no other option,
Okay.
right? Unfortunately, a lot of the business owners that are buying into this actually do have good credit, and they could have gotten a much better
Something.
option,
Yeah.
but they got sold by a fast talking salesperson who uses those words very loosely, as far as,
1.45. Yeah.
yeah, deposit, right in, they focus on the the amount, quick, easy, and
Today,
it's
now.
incredible how people react when when you tell them you'll get money today, versus I talk to people and I'm like, it's going to take about 60 to 90 days to close on your SBA loan, and they won't take action because they have to put together a business plan. They have to get their tax returns. They have to,
Mhm.
get with their accountant and their attorney and make sure everything is nice and neat and packaged properly. But that cash advance, they don't need to see tax returns. They don't need to see a business plan. Just show us your bank statement. Show us your merchant account. Boom, there it is.
Done. Wow. So
Man,
solutions for those that are stuck in an MCA, multiple merchant cash advances, or even just one. Go over the solutions again, how they can recover from this,
if
restructure.
I can, before we do, because I do want to end with the solutions,
Okay.
but I do want to give another warning on this,
Okay. Go ahead.
because there's scams going on right now.
Ah.
Brokers are scamming people. Okay.
Okay.
2 years ago, I got a phone call. Somebody said, "Hey, I'm looking at a website and I see your video, but for some reason I don't feel like this is your website, and I have a feeling you don't even know about." And I'm like, "What?" And I'm like, "What's the website?" So I look it up. Sure enough, there's my video. I have one of my videos talking about a paydex score and what's business credit and how does business credit work. There's me, dead center on this website, and the whole website is promoting paying them $3,000 to build your business credit, right? You're going to sign up with them, and they're going to get you a line of credit within a week, and that's going to grow from 20, 30,000 to 100,000 within 30 days. This is how they're promoting it. You know what they did? They got the person's bank statements. First, they charge them the
The three.
fee, 3,500. They
Right.
get the bank statements. They go and shop it out, get them approved for 2 or 3 cash advances. They don't even present the terms or the contract to the client. They sign it. You get money deposited into your checking account and they disappear. They got paid a commission from the cash advance companies and they disappear. You'll never hear from them again.
So they're right. So they get your information. You pay the 3K. They gather your details to go and apply on your behalf for those tools.
But they don't tell you exactly what they're doing. You're trusting a process of getting access to a business credit building program. I've That was how they used my video. Of course, I shut it off right away, right,
Yeah.
and hopefully put a wrench in their program. But what I've heard more and more lately is people being promised SBA loans with 0% interest, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Why would you even
Man.
like call a bank and say, hey, does this exist? Is there a 0% SBA loan? So they're offering people, you know, basically really good loans. I just need your bank statement, getting the merchant cash advances, disappearing. And now this guy's stuck with $100,000 debt at 45% interest over the next 6 months. He calls the merchant cash advance company and says, hey, I didn't authorize this. I never even saw a contract. Well, is that your bank account, sir? It is my bank account. Well, that's your debt. That's their
Oof.
response.
Oof.
But sir, I didn't sign the contract. Well, we have a contract and
With
somebody signed
signature.
it and that's your bank account. So, well, what's my options? Well, you can get an attorney, sir, if you'd like, but
Wow.
there's nothing we can do to help you.
Mm.
This is what I'm hearing. I actually spoke to a guy. He's going to get back to me in about a month. He has a lawsuit pending. I don't even want to say what state. He asked me just not to like divulge it, but he's suing them. And I think if his lawsuit goes through, then he's going to reach back out to me. I'm going to interview him on the channel and I'm going to try to promote it for all these people that are getting taken for these scams with these cash advance companies and brokers. So hopefully they can, come together and file a class action lawsuit, because it's one thing if you made a bad decision because you didn't ask the right questions, but it's a whole nother thing when you're bait and switch like that and you didn't even see a contract, some broker signing it, and then now you're stuck with this debt and the lender's doing nothing to protect you.
Yeah, because I'm like, how is, well, I guess because they had all your information, they're able to take the loan or the line on your behalf. But how are they getting that money deposited? Does it go to you
Yeah,
or
yeah.
them?
And they get a commission. They're typically getting about
Oh, okay,
10
okay,
to
okay.
12%. 10 to 12 points is the going commission for a broker. So if they got you a $200,000 cash advance, they're getting 10 to
Oh, that's
12
a
points
nice,
on that.
okay, that's a nice
And they
payday.
get it within 24 to 48 hours.
Oh man, so I got you. So the lender pays commission to the broker plus their fee, their consulting fee, call it, or their program fee. Boom, they're gone. But you're
They're gone.
left carrying a $200,000 debt at
And you're out
whatever
of
interest
pocket
rate,
if you paid them some type of consulting or
and you're out of pocket.
coaching fee.
Shows up on your credit report, everything. Wow.
You didn't build any credit. You're not one step closer from to getting any SBA loan. Actually, you're 100 steps back.
Wow, man.
Yeah, it's terrible, man.
That's like identity theft in a way.
100%. That's why I don't like. In my opinion, I'm not an attorney, but I would say that if you are getting a file, if you're a lender getting a file from a broker who did not present the contract to the client, signed it on behalf of the client, got paid a commission, and the client is now letting you know that they had no, they never saw a contract,
Yeah.
and you're just telling them you need to get an attorney. I would say that that attorney is complicit in that scam, in that fraud.
Hmm.
That the lender, I'm sorry, is
Yeah, this
complicit.
this is yeah, this is horrible because we have to, as the customer, we have to get smarter and smarter every day now. Just as AI is advancing, so are the scams. The scams are getting better and better and better. We
Yep,
have to develop ourselves as customers, and we have to use a dose of common sense. Let's compare it.
yep,
When you go to buy a car, how many papers are you signing just to buy a car?
right.
When you go to buy a home, you're signing a packet this thick. you're in person. There's a title company. There's a third
Yep.
party. There's a witness, right? There's a
Right.
notary. Like if you're not doing any of those things on a loan, that's got to raise some red flags, folks. So we got to use some common sense here. And I understand to the folks out there that are just very ignorant. They don't know what they don't know. And so in that scenario, common sense isn't so common if they've never experienced some of these other things. So hopefully this content gets to them. That is the hope. But I would also think we have to do something with the lenders because they're the third party, or they're the bridge that could potentially be an advocate for the customer. So I think we also need to advocate for some kind of additional, almost like two-factor authentication, right? Like something
Yeah.
as you're processing that loan, like, okay, we need voice identification, we need a pin sent to the customer's cell phone
Right.
to validate the, like something very simple, not crazy.
Yeah. And I'm not
Because
suggesting that all of the lenders in that space
right,
are in acting in that way, but there's a lot of them, and every day there's a new one that surfaces. You know, I'm not sure exactly what the criteria is to become a lender, but it's pretty much private money lending in that, and then they structure it in this way. Um, so unfortunately, there's a lot of unscrupulous activity going on.
wow, okay, so solutions, now that you
Solution.
mentioned.
So I myself created a website, and I've been creating content on this, mca-rescue.com. The premise is you're the captain of your ship, and if your ship is sinking, then you need to, stop the ship from sinking. So even though this isn't going to fix everything, working with an attorney firm that can negotiate a settlement for you, it's going to hurt because especially if you're somebody of moral, um, standing and ethics, you don't, even though you're paying ridiculous fees. I've talked to so many people who are like, well, it's my debt and I just don't feel right about, defaulting and settling. And that just shows me, man, good person, and you're getting taken advantage of by this company, and you're still trying to do the right thing, even though they're taking you for, highway robbery. But at the end of the day, the lender gets paid. They just don't get paid that full profit margin. At the end of the settlement, you'll get a letter that says it's paid in full with a zero balance, and that's one way to approach it. Now, if you do have good credit and the loan or the debt is, let's say, less than 500, there is a possibility that you could get access to a term loan or a line of credit, not SBA, because like I said, that
They
door has
stopped.
closed.
Mhm.
Yep. And you could potentially, maybe if you only have one or two max, that you might be able to restructure that yourself by getting approved for something better, and then paying that off, right? But you'd have to have good credit to be able to do that. But if your credit's not good, then your only option would be the restructure. If you defaulted on your own and try to settle it with the client, with the lenders, you have to be very cautious because they will go ahead and give you like a break on the front end. But what they'll do is they'll add it to the back end, and then they'll add additional fees. And before you're paying back double what you owed.
Ugh,
Yeah.
sheesh.
That's the problem when you try to negotiate it yourself, is they'll
Ah, okay.
stick you in the back. Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Sure, we'll
You have
help
an
you.
attorney negotiating it, they'll protect you from that. Um, the downside of it is that the lenders are gonna attack you. They're gonna try to defame you and embarrass you, and just really be aggressive to bully you to pay back. That after about 30 days, that kind of settles down, and then because they start getting payment on the settlement, then they kind of leave you alone, and eventually you'll pay it off. In the meantime, what you need to be doing is rebuilding your personal credit. So that's the second step in my rescue, is
Okay.
to rebuild your credit. And of course, I take them through the business credit program, personal credit. If they need repair, I refer them to an expert to do the repair work. But if they need to build, and I can help them build it, and then also focus on building that business credit, so that once they do get out of that MCA debt, if they need money, they have the opportunity and ability to get approved for an SBA or a term loan or a line of credit, or even 0% business credit cards, right? That all are much better solutions than that cash advance. And then the third step is to teach them infinite banking so that they can create their own business banking system. And the big picture long-term strategy would be for them to be able to um, be in a position to never have to borrow from the banks ever
From the
again.
banks. Yeah, that's the
Ideally.
idea. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the long-term goal. Unfortunately, a lot of these people, when they are in in this situation, there is no cash flow. But if you can, you know, restructure it, typically the attorneys negotiate it where what's going to happen is you'll immediately start saving between 50 to 80% of
Hmm.
your average monthly cost. Even though you're paying daily or weekly, if you add it up, you'll start saving immediately within about a week to 2 weeks, about 50%. The attorney's fees get added on top, and they divvy that up into your payment.
Oh, okay.
But immediately you'll feel the relief
A relief.
because you'll free up 50 to 60 or 80%,
Hmm.
depending on what they can negotiate. Now you can, okay, make payroll, get back to business, and then hopefully if we build credit and we get things going in the next 6 to 12 months, we can work on better debt as well as your banking system to get you set up with your whole life banking strategy. Yeah,
Gotcha.
so that's the long-term goal. um Outside of that, you know um bankruptcy, that's
Yeah.
what's there, right? Because at this point you have bad credit, you can't afford to pay the debt, you can't afford to pay anything because it's
Yeah.
just,
You need a clean slate. You need to restart.
yeah, it's unfortunately, it's really frustrating and sad when I talk to these people and I hear their stories, and you know just unbelievable.
That's very unfortunate. Well, again, we hope to get this content out there, educate the masses. Those of you that know anyone that might be considering this or they spoke about it, show them this video. We just really did a whole masterclass essentially on this, how to avoid it. There's other options. This is like a last resort. Just the way I view cash advance on the personal side as like a last resort as well.
It's
So
basically a payday loan for your business. that's
yeah.
that's what it is. Yeah,
Hmm.
I would just say kind of keywords to look out for: a factor rate. If there's no interest rate, it's a factor rate. um if they're in the documents, nowhere do you see the word loan. If they're not interested in your credit or tax returns or time in business historically, they're just main thing they just want to look at is bank statements, 3 months, 6 months, red flag, it's a cash advance. They'll call it whatever they have to call it to make it attractive to you. They'll
Gotcha.
call it, if you're a doctor, if you're a dentist line of credit. If you're a construction company, it's a construction uh factoring loan.
Hmm.
Or they won't say loan, but they'll call it construction factoring. They use words very loosely just to make it attractive for your niche
Yeah.
business. And then recently, there's also now actual lines of credit where they'll give you a 12-month term. So you'll see this in companies like, I don't want to say names, but you can look up companies that have a line of credit, and it'll give you a 12-month term in the line of credit.
Okay.
And it'll be basically a factor rate or an interest rate in the line of credit. You have 6 to 12 months to pay back what you borrow. When you pay it back, it replenishes so you can use it again. So that's why it's a line of credit. But the actual payback term and the cost of the money is still very similar to a cash advance inside of that line of credit.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
20+%.
Yeah.
Okay. Whew. All right,
Yeah.
folks. Thank you for your time today. And thank you, Sebastian, for jumping in here and teaching us about MCA and the solutions that you have for folks and how you can help them in that process. It's not going to be easy, as you said. It's going to be really hard. You're going to have to come out of pocket even more, right, to get the attorney. But there's ways to structure that service and your service as well to really get out of that trench, right, out of that hole that you're in, and then on to serving people at the highest level in your business. So thank you for your time. Have a wonderful day. God bless. Talk soon.
Thank you.